Welcome to Clear the Clutter. My name is Margaret, and this podcast is where I give you practical and spiritual advice to get your time back so you can finally spend it how you really want.
Hello. Welcome to today's episode. So today's episode number 55, we are going to be talking about what to do when you are jealous of someone else's results. So if you are listening to this episode or me for the first time, just know that everything I talk about will always be one click away. Just go scroll down to your show notes, hit whatever button you have to hit on your podcast player, and click on the link for the show notes, and it'll take you to everything that I either talk about or the journal prompts or recommendations. All of it will always be there for you, so you can just be fully engaged in the listening, and if you want, feel free to talk back at me even though I can't hear you, okay? So with that being said, let's dive into today's episode. If you are listening to this in somewhat of a real time, you will have noticed that I have been off the air for about 2 weeks, give or take, right? The reason why is because I got triggered the fuck out, that it triggered me so hard, it racked me for like a week, and then I had to recover from being racked because I was jealous of someone else's results. And I was like, well, clearly I need to talk about this because this is something I learned and I needed to learn, and there's a lesson in it. So I have no problem talking about it. But do I talk about it vaguely? Do I give all the details? Do I swap an example for a different example? And it took a while. It took some back and forthing, but I'm going to give you the real reason of why I got triggered, what happened, how I grew through it, why I was out for 2 weeks, basically, taking this growth moment, and then I'll give you all the journal prompts that I use to shift my thought process and my subconscious, and then, therefore, my reality. So, I got triggered because one of the people I follow announced that she was pregnant on social media. And you probably don't know this, but my husband and I, we are on our own version of a fertility journey, and it has not been easy. It has not been smooth. It has been what I feel very clunky, and I have had multiple conversations with girlfriends and friends and doctors and this and that. I got diagnosed with PCOS a couple years ago, and I was told that it might make things a little bit harder, and there are some other challenges that are going on in regards to said fertility journey. But, you know, it has been a thing, right? And it hasn't necessarily been a thing in the sense that it has made me upset all the time. I have my moments. I'm completely human. There's going to be times where I just sit there and I cry because we don't have a baby and all of that. And I'm not saying this for pity. I'm just saying this to give you some context, right? It's bothered me, but not bothered me in the sense where it just completely wipes me out. Except that the person I was following, because I don't want to bring her up and talk about any form of shaming, right? So I'm not going to say who I was following. But the person I was following, she talked about how she was getting her body ready to try and get pregnant. She didn't mention that she had PCOS, so that was kind of something I was surprised on. But she mentioned that she was, over the past couple of months, she had been working on getting her body healthy, and that this was going to be the first official month that they tried. And then mother freaking fucker, she gets pregnant on her first go. I read that. I got so, mind you, I read this while I was goofing off for a minute at work, taking like a 5-minute break, right? So I read this at work and I got so fucking upset. I went into the bathroom and I cried. Full on, had to cover my mouth, cry. And of course, where the bathroom is at my job it's in the middle of the showroom. And so if I'm loud in any capacity, every one of the brothers is going to hear me. I was so fucking upset, and I was angry, and I was jealous, and I was hurt, and I'm like, why is she special? What does she do that I can't do? Oh, it must be because she has this and she has that, and all of these things came up, and I just I was just wrecked. I was so wrecked it wasn't even funny. I genuinely, I can say this 100% certainty, I genuinely have never been this envious or jealous of a person, ever. And and then of course, me being the whole, I'm trying to be a better person, I'm trying to be more spiritual, I'm trying to be more loving. I felt so fucking guilty for being jealous. And I was like, God, Margaret, you can't do this. You can't be jealous of someone else's successes, because if you are, then that means that you will never even let yourself be successful. And I started doing all these things and talking to myself, and I was just a fucking wreck. I was literally just a wreck. And I would just ping pong back and forth. I'm so happy that she gets to have a child, because she showed, of course, she showed, not only did she announce that, hey, I'm having a baby, but she recorded herself taking the pregnancy test. And then at the end of it, she full on like cries. And you could tell it's a cry of, oh my God, I didn't think it was going to happen. I can't believe it happened. I'm so incredibly grateful. You can tell in her emotion that it's all genuine. It's not staged, right? So then I feel like an even bigger schmuck, because this woman that clearly wanted a baby so deeply is now excited and going to be having said baby. And why could I not just be happy for my fellow human? So I felt guilty for not being happy for my fellow human. I felt envious as fuck, as why does she get to have what I want, and why does it feel like it's easier for her? And I just lost it, right? I was a wreck the rest of the day. I ended up going home and I cried again, and I was just a mess. And I was like, okay, I need to get a hold of this. I need to get a hang on this, right? Because I can't be jealous or envious of someone else's person. Someone, I shouldn't say person, of someone else's thing, right? So it has nothing to do with a baby, because maybe you don't want a baby. Maybe you're not like me and you're trying to have a kid right now, which, even saying that in itself makes me want to delete this audio and not publish it. And that was another part of it too. She was so open about it. I was pissed that she got to be open about it. She got to share her full experience. She got to share so many things that I never even in a million years felt comfortable sharing. And it wasn't in a sense of, oh, I'm a very introverted person, I'm a very private person. It came from the sense of, this mother trucker, not only does she get to quote unquote get pregnant on her first month of trying, which in reality, I mean, every month you have sex without protection is technically trying in my book, but whatever, that's a side tangent, right? So not only does she get to spin it, at least I felt like she was spinning it, that, oh, it's her first month trying and magically she gets pregnant, but on top of it, she gets to talk about this entire experience. She gets to celebrate it with every one of her followers, and there's no backlash. And I have no clue where this has come from. I've tried figuring it out. I can't for the life of me. But I have been conditioned by other people, by different companies I've worked for, that basically when you have a child, your career is fucked 10 ways to Sunday. So I was jealous of her. I was jealous of the baby. I was jealous of the experience that she gets to share, that there was no repercussions. I was just jealous 10 ways to Sunday. And so every time I would think about it, I would get upset and I'd fucking cry. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be this person. I'm not going to be hateful. I'm not going to be envious. I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to be angry. That is not who I am. I always take everything that happens to me, the good, the bad. I cry through it. I breathe through it. I journal through it. I whatever. But I move through it and I learn from it. So how the freaking fucking I'm going to learn from this? Like how? Just how? So I was walking around with the dogs outside, and I was like, okay, it's so painful to even think about this that I can barely think about it to myself. Because if I talked about it to one of my girlfriends, if I talked about it to Ben, I would just get upset and I would cry. And I'm like, okay, what am I actually crying over? Why am I this upset? Because other things have never triggered me this deeply. I mean, I don't even like saying the word triggering. It sounds so, it's too woo for me to say triggering. And I was just a freaking wreck. So I'm like, okay, what is it that actually is making me this upset? What is it, right? And it was that it felt easy for her. And I'm like, okay, well, is that ultimately true? One of my favorite phrases, right? Is it ultimately true that this was easy for her? I got my phone back out and I'm like, you're not going to cry. You're going to reread it and see if this is the whole picture, right? And then I reread, and she has been prepping her body for motherfucking months. She has a lot of money, which I don't judge her for. So what she did is she hired the best of the best so that she could go ahead and give it her all. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't judge her on that. I would have literally done the same thing if I was in her position. I'm doing my version of the same thing in my position. So I was like, okay. Well, she is honest of the fact that she has been going to a doctor. She's been honest that she's going on medication. She's been honest that she changed her diet. She's honest that her partner, can't say spouse, but her partner changed his diet. She was honest that she did blank, 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 right? She was so honest about it that, like, I was like, that's some things I never thought about. Let me screenshot it while I was in the middle of crying. So she was very honest. And again, I may have been upset about the whole she got to get pregnant in the first try, but she was very honest of all the work that she did. So it's like, okay, well, I can't judge this woman for the result that she has because she has been very honest of all the work that she did, right? So what I'm going to do, let's put it to you this way. I'm going to go through all the journal prompts and then I'll kind of go backwards. Well, actually, I'll do it backwards. I'll go through all the scenarios, then I'll give you the journal prompts at the end, right? So I was like, okay, am I really jealous of her or am I envious of her? And in reality, it was because I was envious. I was envious of what felt like easy, when in reality, it wasn't necessarily easy. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not jealous, because to me, jealous didn't feel the right word. I was envious of the success she had. So I was like, okay, well, how do I recreate that success? So my thought process was that there are things that clearly this is bringing up for me that I feel that she is doing that I could be doing, and I'm choosing not to. And therefore, that is why I'm envious. That is why I'm jealous. And so, again, you can take this whole scenario and instead of having a baby, maybe I was actually going to talk to you guys about this and use an example for money because I didn't know 2 weeks ago if I felt comfortable even mentioning the whole baby thing. And apparently I do now because you are listening to this and I've hit publish, right? So you could take, excuse my fidgeting, but you could take whatever is the thing that triggers the fuck out of you and you can enter it into your own example. So what is it that's triggering you? Why is it triggering you? What is it that you feel that you're not doing that you could be doing? Because let's go back to this, right? I have had examples, I have had experiences where I have been not envious in a bad sense, but envious in a awe sense of, man, they did blank. I don't know, I'm going to make it up, right? So say someone is driving around and I'm friends with them and they're driving around in a brand new car and I'm like, damn, they have a brand new blank, blank, blank car. I would love a brand new blank, blank, blank car. Them mother truckers, I want what they have. But it was never to the extent of, holy crap, I'm going to have a freaking meltdown because they have something that I desperately, deeply want, desire, but yet they get to have it and I don't have it. So I feel like this might be the time to bring in the journal prompts because I feel like I'm starting to dance around them instead of just moving through them. So let's go through. It's going to be early, but that's okay. Let's go through these journal prompts. So journal prompt number 1, whatever it is that's triggering the effing fuck out of you, is why, what is it really? Are you jealous or are you envious? And so for me, jealousy is not the traditional sense of jealousy. So jealousy for me feels evil, it feels manipulative, it feels very angry, it feels very dark. It feels like you want the results without doing any of the work. And sometimes the work is physical, financial, spiritual, emotional, journaling. So I have no clue what the work would be because I don't know what's triggering you. But I always believe that there is some version of work, and that is okay. I'm not opposed to work in any capacity. But that's what jealousy feels like, that you want their results but you're not willing to do the work. Envious, on the other hand, to me feels like, damn, I really, really, really want what they have, but I am recognizing that I am not putting in the work that they are putting in. So I could admire it, I could really want it, I could desire it, but I'm in a state of envy. It doesn't, to me, and maybe to you it feels different, but to me envy doesn't feel dark, it doesn't feel messy, it doesn't feel greedy, it doesn't feel evil. So I would want you to kind of think about it. Whatever is triggering the flying fuck out of you, what is it? Are you jealous or are you envious? Or maybe you're another word, right? But what emotion is it bringing up in you? And then journal prompt number 2 is going to be, what is it that's triggering you and why did it trigger you? So, just like I shared earlier in this episode, the thing that actually triggered me was twofold. Not only that she, quote unquote, got pregnant on the first try. That was trigger number 1. Trigger number 2 was that she was so able to openly share not only her struggle, but she was openly able to share her experience, and she was talking about how she was going to talk about her pregnancy throughout the entire time that she is going to be pregnant. And I was triggered, and again, you know how much I feel about that word, but I was triggered by both of those things, right? So what is it that actually triggered me was the first try, and the fact that she got to be very open about having a child or being pregnant, whatever, right? And then the reason why did it trigger you? So the reason why it triggered me is because she, she didn't talk about the struggle and the hardship and, oh, I've been trying for 9 months or this and that, and I finally got pregnant. It was this thing that she overcame. She was like, nope, I decided, and boom, I got pregnant, which isn't the truth, but that's how it felt in my head. The other thing that triggered me, and the why of why I was triggered, was she got to be very open about this, that I felt that if I was in her position, if I magically got pregnant tomorrow, I did not feel that I could have the same level of openness. I still, to some extent, feel, and this is the part that's a little scary about publishing this episode, but again, I've made it so that my company doesn't know I do all this stuff because I want my life to be separate outside of my job. But I was afraid, and I'm still somewhat afraid, that my company will figure out how to punish me for trying to become a mother. And that's such a deep-seated fear that when she was able to have a completely different experience, because that's what she created, that's the reality she created, that's the thing that triggered me. So I go back to, what is it, the actual thing that's triggering you? What is it that's actually making you upset? If it's money, so let's say it's money, right? Say it has nothing to do with babies and it's money. If it is money and someone is able to pay for, I'm totally making it up, pay for a vacation, right? The fact that they're able to pay for the vacation isn't the thing that's going to be triggering you. It's probably the fact that they have more than enough, that they can do all the things that they're doing and pay for the vacation. So I always go back to, if you can, I would prefer that you figure out and you dive deeper and you sit with it and you think about it. And if it's too raw right now, then don't. Just put it away, go do something else, binge on some Netflix, and then come back to it. But try and figure out what's actually triggering you. Because if you can figure out the actual nuance of what's upsetting you that deeply, then we can go ahead and fix it. And we can fix it easily and we can fix it fast. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to drag this out, because I am so not a fan of dragging shit out. So try and figure out the actual thing, the one specific or maybe two specific things that's triggering the shit out of you, right? And then once you figured out what that thing is, journal prompt number 3. What feelings does it bring up in you? So I've talked about jealousy. I've talked about envy. So for me, the things that it was bringing up within me was envy and desire and wistfulness and fear and expectations and uncertainty and desire and a yearning and an uncertainty and all of these things, right? And I might have even just repeated one or two, right? But if brought up all of these emotions, I want you to, whether you just sit with it or you journal it out because that maybe feels better for you, or you talk it out, but what is it bringing up in you? What are the feelings that it's bringing up in you? And I would go back to why, so a desire, right? So I still have the desire that I would like a child. Ben would still has a desire that he would like a child. I still have the yearning that the pregnancy could be a beautiful experience instead of a fearful experience. So there's the yearning that it would be safe to talk about that at my job. It would be safe that I wouldn't feel like I'm going to get fired because we have, a baby on the way, which I don't, but that's not the point, right? So all of these feelings that I'm feeling, why are you feeling that? And that'll help you get a lot more clear on why you got so deeply upset. Again, and if I highly doubt that babies are going to be your thing, but if babies are your thing, use my example. Please, I have never been this open about something that was not money in my entire life. So if someone can learn from it, I hope it brings you, I don't want to say comfort, but I hope it brings you solitude to know that you're not alone and that these things and these feelings and the emotions are kind of overwhelming and a little fucked up, that you have to feel that you have to suffer in silence, because I have definitely felt like I have suffered in silence for years. My friends have known, close members of our family have known, but no one else has known. And it's been interesting because every time, again, I'm not old or anything like that, but like I'm 33. So every time someone would find out my age or something would happen, someone would ask me, "Oh, when do you guys plan on having babies?" And I know it's a genuinely innocent question, but there would be times where it would upset me so much because I couldn't tell them the truth. "Oh, hey, listen here, motherfucker. That's a very insensitive question to ask me because we've been trying for X amount of years or X amount of months. I don't know what's going to happen." Or even before we were ready to try, we couldn't fucking afford it. So it's not like I can be like, "Hey, listen here, you nosy old bee. I can't afford a kid because we have student loans and we have this and we have that and we have blah, 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 blah going on in our lives. So thank you for upsetting me and reminding me that whatever has gone on in our lives has put us in a scenario, put us in a country, we live in a society where it's unaffordable to have a kid. Thank you so much." I couldn't see that. So instead, I would play it off because it was just easier, it was simpler. So I go back to babies doesn't have to be your thing. Babies are just my thing, right? But whatever your trigger is, I have been there in where you've had to play it off, where you've gone into the bathroom and cried, where you've been so upset that it just takes you out. And I very rarely do things take me out, but this one fucking took me out. So I have been there. Just know that you're not alone. That's all I want to convey. No, you are not alone. All right, back to the journal prompts. Journal prompt number 4. Here's the good one, right? Here is, if you haven't done all the previous ones, kind of do the previous ones because that's really going to make sense for this one. Journal prompt number 4 is, what makes you think you can't have this too? So I was thinking about this and I'm like, okay, this person, she has this experience of she's done all of this month's worth of work. And even if she hadn't, regardless, right? She's been very honest about it, but still, she does all this work, she gets pregnant. She is able to post about it and talk about it and make that part of her company, her branding, and it's safe and easy for her to do. And her income is not affected. She's able to have this experience and her income is not motherfucking affected in any capacity. What makes me think I can't have that experience too? What makes me think that I can't magically get pregnant tomorrow and then, let my company know X time, and that doesn't mean I don't make more fucking money. Maybe people buy more shit from me because I'm cute and I'm pregnant and I have a big belly and they want a blank, 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 whatever the scenario is. So what makes me think, obviously our realities are different, but in the same sense, they're the same. What makes me think I can't have a fun, exciting experience too? And sometimes, and I promise you, I'm not trying to ignore realities. Sometimes it's not, but okay, so I'm dancing around it. You might be in a position because you are a person of color, because you are poor, because you are living in a wrong society, a wrong country, a wrong whatever. You might be living in a scenario where that is not an option for you. I want to acknowledge the fuck out of it because I'm sorry, there has been times where people have been like, well, you're a woman, you can do X, Y, and Z. But I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, I'm a woman of color. I may not be dark skinned, I may be a light caramel, a light Bustelo coffee with some heavy cream in it, but like, I'm still a person of color. So I still have different experiences. I'm still raised differently. I still had the talk. So things are different for me. But that doesn't mean I can't strive, I can't achieve, I can't go towards the experience I want. So, genuinely, if you are in a scenario where you having what that person that triggered you has is not an option for you in this moment in time, I understand where you're coming from. But let's do this then. Promise me that you will do whatever you can to move yourself towards the experience that you want. So that has been the difference of things that I have done. Yes, I am a woman of color. Yes, I am Hispanic. Yes, blank, 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 blank. Enter all of these things here that could be a limiting thing for me, right? They are what they are. I am who I am. I'm not going to change. I can't physically change. What am I going to magically become a different color now? Like, I can't. That's not a thing, right? But what I've always done is I've always taken that and said, okay, but that does not define my reality till the day I die. I can go ahead and move towards having a better income. I can move towards making sure that my Hispanicness is a benefit and not what feels like a curse. I can move, I can do all of these things because I'm willing in my part to do the work to go after what I actually desire. So I don't use it as a end all be all, this will never happen. I figure out what the fuck is it that I actually want, a baby, and to have a glorious experience to where it feels safe to not only have said baby, but my income and my career, because I deeply love my career, is not affected because of said baby. How the fuck do I move towards that? Versus saying, well, just because I'm a woman of color, because of the industry I'm in, because of all these other things, it's not an option for me. I don't, like, I'll stress it over and over again. I don't want you to use that as a limiting belief. I don't want you to take something that triggers you and make it into a reality that locks you away from something that you desire. There's a reason why you desire it. There's a reason why you want it. There's a reason why you should go after it, even if it's not easy. So I will get off the soapbox, but I want you to know that, like, I get where you're coming from. I don't take any of the advice I'm giving you lightly. I always look at it through the lens of, well, these are my experiences, but you may have drastically different experiences than me, and you may have drastically different struggles than me, and you may have drastically different triggers than me, and all of that is okay. But what tools, what advice, what support, what journal prompts can I give you to move you towards the thing that you want instead of letting you stay stuck? I think, like, the worst thing in the world I could do would be to be like, oh, well, let's just have this whitewashed experience and it's easy and you just have to manifest it and move on. That's not the truth. You have to do whatever the work is. Sometimes the work means moving. Sometimes the work means getting a new career. Sometimes the work means working on yourself. Sometimes the work means standing up for yourself. Sometimes the work is sitting quietly with yourself and being very introspective as to why some random person's post on fucking social media triggered the shit out of you to where you cried in the middle of the day at work. I acknowledge that there's always work, but I will always give you whatever tools I can to move you to what you desire. Okay. Journal prompt number 5. This is kind of where we start to get in the end of this and get out of the trigger and into the actionable things that you can do. So the question would be, how can you be at peace with the difference between what you have right now and what is it that you desire? So for me, I'm very action oriented. I'm very task oriented. I'm very A, B, C, D, E oriented, right? So for me, the difference of being at peace of what is going on right now in my body versus the things that I desire. Well, the first thing I did is I was like, you know what? What have I not done? I haven't gone to my doctor. Yes, there has been a pandemic. Yes, I completely acknowledge it. Yes, I feel like I blinked and I lost a fucking year of my life because I had a Groundhog's Day year. But I haven't gone to the doctor in 2 freaking years. How is that supporting this journey at all? It is not. It is not supporting me. It is not supporting this journey. What if there's something simple that I could have done 2 years ago and we could have had a 2-year-old right now? Or a 1-year-old or whatever year old, right? Like, so how can I be at peace at what is currently my reality versus the things that I want? Well, what are the action steps I'm going to do to take there? I am going to take care of my body a little bit better. I'm going to go to bed consistently much earlier so that I'm not sleep deprived 24/7. So therefore, I'm not a cranky bitch. I'm going to figure out how to eat more fruits and vegetables. I'm going to eat more slowly. I'm going to drink more water. These are things I've always wanted to do anyway. I just put my body and my health on the back burner because, again, I had this thought process that, oh, let's go ahead and suffer and have my body just completely fall apart because it lets me make money. So fuck it. I can deal with it later, right? Nope, not anymore. So I start to look at all of these things of where I am and where I want to be. And when I start to get clear on it, that brings me comfort because I feel like it's a tangible thing that I can go after. I've always, and I've said this, I've always been very goal oriented. And when I have no goal, when I have no North Star, when I have no, this is Maggie's perfect world scenario, then I just feel lost. And I don't like feeling lost. And you probably don't like feeling lost either. So let's get you out of this lostness together. But that is how you start to bridge the difference between the piece of where you're at now and what you want. And then, if you haven't already, journal prompt number 6 would be, what steps do you need to take in place to get to a point where you're happy? So I started talking about it, but those steps for me meant making a doctor's appointment. So I have a doctor's appointment coming up to go get checked out and have a conversation and go, hey, doc, I've been noticing blank, blank, blank. What do you think? Or maybe let's just do a routine checkup, or maybe there's recommendations they have, or whatever the scenario is. I've also even just told you I'm going to get more sleep. I'm going to drink more water. I ended up buying the cutest, and it was like $5. I bought the cutest water bottle at Aldi's the other day, and it just made me really happy, and it's a nice big water bottle. And I noticed that since I had that water bottle, I've been drinking probably twice the amount of water I was normally drinking because it makes me happy. So it's all these little actions, all these little things that I am doing so that I know I am doing everything I can. And maybe I put these journal prompts backwards for 5 and 6, but I noticed that every time I am doing everything within my power, everything that is a current option for me, then I normally am at peace with my decision. If I am doing the things, getting the sleeps, drinking the waters, going to the doctor, maybe needing to go on medication, maybe needing to change X, Y, and Z, doing whatever it is, right? If I am doing everything that is within my power, I am always at peace at not necessarily being where I want to be. And when I am not doing everything within my power, that's when it starts to become the slippery slope. That's when I start to get jealous of someone else. That's when I start to get envious. That's when I get upset. That's when I get so upset that a stupid post that I read in the middle of the day gets me to cry in the middle of work. So maybe that's not like that for you, but for me, I've noticed that, if I was trying everything and I was doing all the things that I felt were important to me, and my doctor said these are the things that are important, and I believe you should do X, Y, and Z, and I was doing all of it, I can guarantee you that reading that post never would have upset me. I wouldn't have lost 2 weeks of work. I wouldn't have cried the amount of times I did. I wouldn't have almost sunk into a form of depression. I never would have gone through any of those things had I been doing everything. I notice that when I'm not, I sink into that depression. It's so easy to go into that dark hole of despair. And I know that having some principles, some guidance, some rules, some mantras, some stepping stones, sometimes just things that kind of help you have a light at the end of a tunnel, that's what gets you out of that vicious cycle. That's what gets you out of the depression, is starting to bet on yourself, starting to trust yourself, starting to say, well, if I'm doing all of these things, then I can't ask for any more because there's nothing left to give. And that's part of where peace comes from. It's knowing that you have done everything and there is nothing left to give. You've tried all the things that are within your power, within your finances, within your ability, and it is what it is from there. The rest of it, I hate saying this because it's not like I'm trying to just absolve and have you sit back and do nothing, but truly the rest of it could be quote unquote up to God, up to the universe, up to angels, up to science, up to whatever, what enter your belief system here, but the rest of it is literally out of your control. So my thought process has always been, if it is out of my control, I can't focus on that because I literally can't even influence it. So let me just focus on the things I can influence. And that is part of this process. So and again, I mean, there's things that bother me about other people all the time, but never to this extreme, never to this extent. So when things other people have, do, say, whatever, bother me, and I'm like, okay, but why is it bothering me? Oh, well, maybe they're doing X, Y, and Z. Do I want to do X, Y, and Z? I think about it. Yeah, I might want to do that. Okay, I figure out how to implement it. Or if I'm like, you know what, nah, I really don't want to implement it, then I don't. And I don't get jealous, I don't get envious, I don't have all these emotions and these feelings and these things come up. And then I'm able to move on. Because all of this comes back to, how do we get your brain? How do we get your subconscious? How do we get your body? How do we get your flight or fight system that's going on crazy like a motherfucker inside of you? How do we get that to calm down? Because that's a bigger thing of all of this. Like my heart rate when I was having this episode, triggering, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? I still don't even know what to call it that I'm comfortable with. Let's call it episode. This episode had my heart rate up for days. I was literally a hot mess for days. And I'm like, no, this cannot be. This is not going to be my reality. So I want to help get you out of that crazy cycle. I want to help get you into a place where you can have some version of peace, where you can have goals, where you can have steps, where you can have things that are within your control so that you can calm your body down, you could calm your heart down, you can calm your brain down, you can calm your soul down, and then you can start moving towards what you actually want. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and honor what I've been talking about, and I'm going to wrap this up so I can go to bed because it's starting to get a little late, and I want to hear from you. I'm still, I'm amazed, to be perfectly honest, that I'm even publishing this episode because this is such a huge thing for me. And of course, Ben is talking at the end of my episode. Go figure, right? But this is such a huge thing for me to even be open and sharing and going back to why did it trigger it? Well, this person was able to share her journey and her struggle and her desire and have no repercussions. And it's like, okay, well, I want that. So this is me moving towards what I want. I want to be able to talk about my fertility journey. I want to be able to have our children. I want to be able to become a mother. I want to be able to do all of these things and not feel like I am either going to only have a career or have a family. I will have both. I will do both as best as I can. I will move on. I will learn. I will share. I will do all the things, but I will not be punished and I will not have my income punished because of it. And if someone tries to make that my reality, I will go somewhere else where it's not my reality. So there you go. That's how you get to peace. That's how you get to a place of happiness. That's how you get out of the trigger, out of the despair, out of the depression, out of the anxiety. That's how you get out. And those hopefully are the steps that you can use so that you can get out. If some of them apply, use them. If none of them apply, don't use them. If all of them apply, use them all. If you need to go back multiple times, go back as many times as you need to. With that being said, one little thing, and I didn't talk about this in the beginning of the episode, I'm changing my format slightly. So only in the sense that you will always have access to the journal prompts, but I've had a deeper desire to go ahead and, instead of just having journal prompts, make them workbooks. So what I'm doing now is at the end of every episode, you'll still be able to go to the show notes. You'll still be able to go and click on the show notes tab. But what it's going to do is it's going to redirect you and you're going to have access to buy all of these journal prompts as a workbook. It's a gorgeous workbook. It's multiple pages. You can do it digitally. You can print them out. I've made a commitment that the workbooks are going to be super freaking cheap. Right now I have them posted all at 99 cents. Because it's not in the sense of I'm trying to make this so I can make millions. It doesn't, like, the money's irrelevant. It's just the format that I like, and the format has an expense, and it is what it is. I'm gonna ask for dessert. If you don't know what that reference is, that's from last week's episode. Go ahead and go back and listen to last week's episode about asking for dessert, because it'll totally make more sense. But yeah, these workbooks, they're gorgeous, they're beautiful. You can use them, you can print them, you can do whatever you want. And then obviously it goes with this corresponding episode so that you can go ahead and get an even richer experience than just listening to the episode. Because I've always noticed that listening always moves me, but when I listen and then I journal afterwards, like I go from a great experience to a transformational experience. And I want to make sure you have a transformational experience too. So check out the workbook. Let me know if there's something you're struggling with, if you're triggered, if you have a good or a bad fertility story and you want to share it with me privately, go ahead and email me. I would appreciate not feeling alone in this one, because this one was very hard to talk about. Very, very hard. And it'll be even harder knowing and sharing this. And yeah, I would really love to not feel alone. My email is info@margaretstevens.co. Share if you feel comfortable. I would love to hear from you. I hope this serves you. I am deeply grateful that you've listened, to all 55 episodes. If you haven't, you should go back. They're totally awesome. But I'm deeply grateful for you, and I hope that this serves you. With that being said, I will talk to you all later. I love you guys. I'm grateful. I will forever be grateful. And thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Have a burning question for me? Want that link I was talking about? Get access to all the resources and links that were mentioned in this episode and others over at margaretstevens.co. And if you haven't, don't forget to sign up for my VIP list where I share special bonuses, pre-launch coupon codes, and advice I don't share anywhere else. Thanks for listening.